in December 2021, the board passed a motion for a mid-2022 rollout.
Pepper. Thanks to the Cobourg Police Services Board for their due diligence throughout this entire process. The board and the service share a commitment to transparency and accountability to the community and strive to provide members with the tools to be successful in their role and to deliver service excellence to all those we serve. As Chair mentioned, we went through extensive consultation periods and many members were involved in researching and collecting information on this topic. We were very lucky to have open and helpful assistance from chiefs of police in Ontario and were able to leverage the knowledge and talent of our colleagues in neighboring services. A special thanks goes out to Chief Chris Harridge in St. Thomas and his team, who welcomed our members to experience their body-worn camera program early on in our research process. Internally, Constables Damien Cunningham, Acting Sergeant Kyle Tobin, and our Crime Analytics Coordinator Leslie Rodriguez were able to be on the ground with St. Thomas officers working with their members in hand to learn the pros, the cons, and gain essential feedback to ensure an effective rollout. Together with now retired Inspector Jeff Shields, they were able to provide the board and the public with their first comprehensive look at what a program of this nature would look like, would entail, and the impact for the perceptions of our members. This was important work conducted initially by the team. After the motion was passed in December, my team set to work to establish a steering committee led by Deputy Chief Haskins, who brought his experience from Durham Regional Police to ensure that we were able to get this aggressive timeline completed on time and in space. And I must thank the Durham Regional Police Service for all their help and guidance over the last few months, especially in the development of training program that is now being fully rolled out under the guidance of Sergeant Legier. A procedure was developed and a workflow for our digital evidence management unit has also been created. Now this rollout created some learning and improvement opportunities for us at the service. Part of those learnings is improved collaboration with our many partners. We are fortunate to live in a community with as many partners so invested in community safety. In our rollout, we realize just how vast our network extends. Today, we hope to reach out as many people as we can, but we also realize there's still much work to do in education. And we commit to meeting with as many as possible to discuss how this may impact everyone. In short, we see this as the beginning, not the end. Thank you. We got a couple more attendees, and we'll strengthen our investigative process. The body-worn camera program provides value to our service, our partner agencies, and ultimately our community through accuracy and quality of evidence and that collection of the related judicial oversight processes. Maintaining trust through transparency with our community, our members, and our partners. Enhancing accountability of both our members and the members of our community. Body-worn cameras will also provide information on the effectiveness of our procedures and our training. Sergeant Legier has been very busy training the membership on body-worn camera, and we'll finish up with the last group this Friday. Special thanks needs to go for the team in training, because not only were we training on body-worn cameras, we also trained on a new conducted energy weapon. So there was a lot happening in the last 6 months. I will now turn it over to Sergeant Legier, and he'll provide an overview and more information about the technology itself. Paul?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sergeant Paul Legier from the Cobourg Police Service, and I want to thank everybody for coming today. I'm happy to share with you all an overview of how the cameras work and the highlights, at least, of our policy and procedure for the body-worn camera program surrounding the camera's usage. So I'm just going to start right into the highlights of the procedure. Cobourg Police developed a procedure through consultation with other police services to ensure best practices would be adhered to, similar to other agencies in the province. Especially would like to thank Durham Regional Police for their continued support and assistance in being big brother, so to speak, to help us out with our program. The body-worn camera procedure will guide Cobourg Police with operational direction that includes, but is not limited to, recording in private and public places retention, security of videos, and the responsibility of supervisors. In regards to access for footage, all officers will be able to review their own recordings, and supervisors of units will be able to access videos of their direct reports. Only the digital evidence management unit staff are permitted to edit or redact the body-worn camera data as per service procedure. In regards to release of footage, body-worn camera footage will only be released to the public or media with the explicit authorization of the Chief of Police where compelling public interest exists. For individuals, under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, an individual can submit an FOI, Freedom of Information request, to our Freedom of Information Coordinator to request to view body-worn camera recording. Body-worn camera data will only be deleted in accordance with the applicable Cobourg Police Service retention bylaws. So, who will be wearing body-worn cameras? Public-facing special constables and uniformed officers will be equipped with body-worn cameras. Our auxiliary officers will not be equipped with body-worn cameras at this time. I believe we are the first Ontario Police Service to deploy body-worn cameras in our special constable unit, in part because our special constable program is the most, I would say the most robust in the province, and they have the widest range of duties, including being out on the beach, being out on downtown foot patrols, and exposed to the public in many different scenarios, not just working at the courthouse. As you can see on my vest here, which I'll show you in a minute, the body-worn camera is an overt recording device to assist officers in the lawful execution of their duty. Body-worn camera here, you could reasonably expect is in the exact same spot for all police officers and special constables, either here or on a different slightly modification of the center chest. It'll always be visible to the public, even when the camera is not on. And I do want to do a little demonstration of what it appears to a person looking at the camera if they're being recorded. So as per our policy, we are going to tell people at the first opportunity that they are being recorded on audio, video, body-worn camera, and I'm going to tell you all that right now for purposes of a demonstration only. So by double tapping the center triad button here, I'm going to activate the camera. You're going to hear an audible sound, and you're going to see visually some red LED lights, and that will indicate to all of you that we have a recording going on. At the end of a short little test clip, I'm going to press and hold this button for 5 seconds approximately, and that's going to deactivate the camera recording. So right now, we are audio video recording, and I'm going to exit that recording by pressing and holding. Everybody can hear and see the status of the camera. So that's our, that is our policy. That is the policy of the general policy of all services, that it's an overt device, not to be used for covert purpose or in a hidden type of way. So when body-worn cameras are recording, the camera will be activated as an officer arrives for a call for service, or even if they are on a foot patrol, let's say, and that activity turns into an investigative or enforcement action. Even if they didn't have their camera on, they will turn their camera on under those circumstances. Or when a person is being questioned by police officers for the purpose of collecting their information. While recording, the body-worn camera is in plain view, and the camera has a red light, just as we demonstrated here a minute ago, to show that it's activated and is recording. Police will provide verbal notification that a body-worn camera is recording at the earliest possible opportunity, which may come at different times depending on the nature of the call. Police police officer will turn off the body worn camera when the call for service or investigation is complete. In regards to when we're not recording, like I had already mentioned, the body worn cameras will not be used to carry out general surveillance. Body worn cameras will not be recorded when conducting general patrols, administrative tasks, attending community events, or while conducting non-investigative functions. In regards to private residences versus public places, in public places, officers will be recording for investigative or enforcement purposes. Occupants in a private residence can ask an officer not to record unless the officer is there in exigent circumstances or under the authority of a search warrant. In those cases, the officer will continue to record. One note on privacy, and there are many privacy issues surrounding body-worn cameras and the utilization of them. Police officers, as part of their training, are trained on how to manage situations that may be sensitive in nature, such as when children are present, during a sexual assault or domestic violence investigation, or when a person is nude or partially nude. Body-worn cameras will typically not be used in hospitals, places of worships, courtrooms, etc. In regards to where videos are stored, at the end of every shift, officers will take their body-worn camera and dock it near their workstation at the Cobourg police station. Once docked, the camera will charge and automatically upload the encrypted audio-video file to the cloud through Axon. Videos can only be deleted by authorized personnel in accordance with the retention schedule, and video that is part of an active investigation or a court matter will not be deleted. A couple features of the Axon Body 3 camera. There's many features that are listed on the screen in front of you. Axon Body 3 is the most current version that Axon puts out for cameras, and it has, generally speaking, 12 hours or more of battery life, which means any officer that works a 12-hour shift can fully expect to have the camera good to go for that entirety of their shift. One of the other things is that it operates in all kinds of temperatures, operates well in temperatures of minus 20 Celsius to plus 50 Celsius, and that it has enhanced microphone audio capabilities. They've stuck 4 microphones in the new version of their cameras, and also for officer safety has Wi-Fi positioning, and so that other people will know their location if required in an emergency. We're going to demonstrate a sample video here that we shot a week or so ago, just to show you what 1080p video from this body camera is, both in terms of audio and video. One of the things I haven't mentioned so far is that when the camera is on but not recording, it is still internally recording and buffering itself every 30 seconds. So it's rewriting itself every 30 seconds, every 30 seconds. When the recording is actually activated, you're going to capture 30 seconds of video only with no audio component. So any Axon product you've seen ever, most of the US, there's lots of footage out there. You'll see until now, which is 30 seconds into that clip, there is no audio component to it. This little black box over here is redacting some uninvolved address, which is part of our redaction process for uninvolved people, uninvolved property, and uninvolved data that isn't part of a case that we are, for example, putting into the court process. There'll be a couple spots on here where we purposely redacted a bit of audio as well, so partway through the conversation, we'll hear nothing. Personal identifiers for a license plate, for example, have been redacted out of this video.
Good afternoon.
Hi, sir.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Good. The reason I'm stopping you is that I noticed that your gas cap lid is open. driver's license, ownership, and insurance with you?
You're gonna see documents being presented, but being redacted as a personal identifier.
All right, very good. Have a nice day.
Thank you, you too.
So that's the general overview and the gist of how the cameras work, highlights of our policy and procedure. There is an actual copy of our policies and procedures here if anybody cares to take it with them or pick it up at the end of the presentation. If anybody has any questions, one of these people in this room will
We're gonna leave.
I'll be right in front of you.
Thank Paul Legier for his tireless effort. Like, you don't get this done without some key work. And if anyone knows Lisa, she never swears, so we redacted something else it was. The best is here. I encourage, if somebody wants to come and see what their officers put on every day and throw a camera on, I encourage you to try that out. I will just add before I take questions, our procedure will constantly be made available to the public on our website. Again, when we stand on the world of transparency, everyone needs to understand clearly what it is our officers can, will, and will not do. So the procedure is available. Jack, over to you.
Okay, simple one, actually. Most of your questions that I had, you answered in there quite well, as a matter of fact. For a start, how many cameras do you have?
Total number?
46 cameras.
46,
active.
okay.
16 special constables and 30 for uniform personnel.
How kind of damage proof are you? If you can do an altercation physically, what kind of damage could you do to it, or what is it?
Most of the.
I got that, Paul.
Go ahead.
He'll tell you that, as chief, I don't like damaged property, so he's gonna give you what the chief wants to hear, right? We actually got a really good program. So Axon offered up a great opportunity that the board actually saw real value in. So we actually entered into what we call as the officer safety program. So we get new cameras with the newest technology as part of our contract, now that we're recording, every 2 years. And if it's damaged, it's under warranty and can be replaced. So we're not necessarily all that concerned about that. Axon is probably the world leader in this kind of technology. So I'm sure they'd be interested to know what kind of damage is so they can reconstruct the next version of it. So, and this new plan that we have also creates supervisory suites so that the supervisors can ensure they're doing their due diligence to make sure that they're reviewing their officers' videos at random instead of maybe picking and choosing which ones they want to see, and as well the new conducted energy weapons. So a really great opportunity, and I was really thankful that the board saw a site. And it's obviously a bigger ticket price-wise, but I was really happy that the board saw fit to see all that come through.
For what length of time do you store the information?
So everything that we record it follows our regular retention procedure. So some of it, if it's being used, if the video is going to be used for court purposes or any formal investigative process, there is a different retention that's assigned to it. But every document that we have as a police service has a retention assigned to it. The video is no different than that. So it would, the short answer is it will vary.
Like, for instance, a video in relation to a homicide investigation, we have to retain that forever. Whereas a minor theft, we have to retain it 30 days beyond the final element in court. So a plea of guilty or not guilty, we have to hold it for an appeal period of additional 30. And this digital evidence management is no different than a piece of evidence that we would have in old school in our property room. So the schedule is robust. It is approved by the board annually, and it's also attached with a fee structure, of course.
That 30-day period you're talking about, is that sort of an arbitrary amount?
No, that's the Criminal Code of Canada. It takes 30 days for an appeal period for anybody convicted or found not guilty. There's a 30-day appeal period, so we don't destroy evidence or get rid of evidence until such time as that appeal period is closed.
Has there been any statistics compiled as to the sort of the efficacy of the program itself over the course of time?
Paul, do you want to jump into that?
So there is quite a bit of research that's being done by Dr. Alana Saunier. And she has been studying a number of different programs in the US. She's probably one of the preeminent researchers focused on body-worn camera in Canada as well. I believe she's affiliated with Queen's University. And so if you want to look at some of the research that has been done up to date, there is not a large volume of information relating to this, obviously, because it's relatively new technology and relatively new programming.
Jack has a whole second page.
So good with the presentation. I had 17 questions, believe it or not. About 16 of them you answered, but,
You want us to circle back to you, Jeff? Any other questions?
who manufactures the camera?
This is made by Axon.
Is that local or
No, that's out of the US.
US? And they are the actual manufacturers.
They are the manufacturers, actually.
Manufacturers.
They also used to be called Taser. Why often we will refer to a conducted energy weapon by their old trademark name, which was Taser. So they're a very, very innovative firm out of the US. They're internationally renowned.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
I just
Jack.
have a quick question.
Sure.
What has community reaction been? Have you heard much from members of Cobourg?
Our initial reaction based on our surveys were over 90% wanted this technology rolled out, and they wanted this rolled out kind of yesterday. So, and we're really early on. I have not heard anything positive or negative, but when that overwhelming percentage of our population tell us that they want it and we deliver it in under 6 months, my team laughed with me when I say we're going to get this done by July 1st. They all rolled their eyes, but here we are, June 22nd, and we're done. So the reaction, I'm sure, will come. And so ask me that question again in 6 months. I'll be happy to have an answer for you. Sir.
What kind of public consultations did you do before this program?
Sure.
What did you consult besides the other services?
Yeah. So initially, we began with a very large survey that did two things. We looked at enhancing or rebuilding our CCTV program, but more importantly, specific to around the body-worn camera idea as a project. We did a public session after that survey, presenting results, receiving feedback that I alluded to with that team who went to St. Thomas. The board felt that further consultation, including every one of our police board meetings, are public, and we had several members come to those meetings. They did want a further deep dive into a second survey, specific around, okay, so you've said over 90% of the population that responded to the survey felt that we need this or want this. This is what the price tag is. Are you still interested in? And basically what we heard is absolutely, we're still very interested in this. And then we did, in policing, we rely on best practice. And we looked at best practice in relation to not only body-worn cameras, because as the deputy alluded to, we're not the first by any means, but we're not at the back of the pack either. But we also looked at other privacy impacts and how privacy is impacted. We looked at US models where sometimes cameras run more often than not. And what we've rested on is a policy or a procedure that I feel is really fair for the province of Ontario. It meets other standards and meets the community's expectations. And the great thing about us here at the Cobourg Police Service is that I like to write reports. We'll be writing a report back to the board within 6 months to answer this question about the efficacy and answer some of your statistical questions as to what we've seen and how we've done it. And then we'll be able to change and make additions or deletions where required.
May I ask a follow-up?
Yeah, absolutely.
And will there be any consultations after this initial period of the rollout and writing your reports?
Sure, absolutely. So we live in a transparent space here at the Cobourg Police Service. My board is really key on that. Our most recent strategic plan, which is available on our website, calls for environmental scans on a variety of issues. And one of the issues, one of our first environmental scan will be obviously questions in relation to this. Those who know me know that I live in the town hall world. So there's the coffee with the chief, and we do those regularly. Even with COVID, we did them virtually. So we will be ongoing. There'll be lots of opportunities for the public to continue to provide feedback to us as to how we can improve. And hence the comments I made that we're always learning. And the rollout was very aggressive. It was really well done. The officers accepted the training remarkably. I can't say enough for the team, but we did trip over our own feet. Sometimes on a few things we made a few mistakes on, but we learn from those, we make amends, we make our apologies, and we get stronger for the next time.
Just top up there once you did. So just in terms of community consultation overall, that we are continuing that there isn't any hesitation or, and there's a lot of awareness in relation to the program itself, because as much as people knew this was coming, now officers are actually active in the community with it. So now we are actually going out and saying, here is how we are going to engage. And you know, Paul has probably can say his presentation in his sleep because he's given us so many times to write for us.
And as recent as, sure, a lot. No, I can't say that, can I? For the 5-year contract, for everything we're talking about, plus, it's about $600,000 for over the course of 5 years.
For the 40 of them, so you're talking.
For everything, sir. So it's the conducted energy weapons, we have a subscription-based program, it's the redaction suite, it's the supervisory suite that allows my supervisors to do really random queries instead of picking and choosing, so nobody can accuse my supervisors of saying, we're never gonna look at Paul Vandergraaf's video because we don't want to. No, it's just a random selection. So the board was really, this is the due diligence. I know we were criticized somewhat that it took us a while to get out of the gate on this, but that was the due diligence the board did to try to figure out what's the best way. So we didn't just buy these. We entered into a subscription program which included better life-saving and less lethal options such as conducted energy weapons. So that's what it's cost over 5 years.
So they didn't break it out in terms of the individual costs?
Oh, I can break it down to a monthly cost, sir, but overall for the entire length of the contract is just north of $600,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Counselor?
And do you want to just tell the public where those funds came from?
Sure,
today
yes.
for that?
Counselor, happy to remind we are very fortunate here in that I have the great honor to lead a group of individuals who are completely innovative. And we are the foremost leader in Canada for processing criminal record checks. So the entire fund, in fact, every capital price for anything that Cobourg Police Service has comes from the corporate service revenue, which sits outside of the tax levy. In other words, as the chair alluded or actually stated was, not one tax dollar went to paying for this, for any of my cruisers, or any of those other capital projects. We're very lucky to be here in Cobourg for a lot of reasons, not just one of them. Missy, thank you.
Hi, Chief. I've got a couple questions.
Sure.
So the first one is informed consent about the recording seems to be a big piece of this. And I'm just wondering how do services, or how is this service going to address things when there is, say, a language barrier involved with communicating to the public that they're being recorded?
Sure, so informed consent is always something that we are really going to struggle with. And again, language barrier is the easiest, if you will, space to find where we're going to run into conflict. So our procedure speaks very clearly about that. We will do our best, as we do in every call for service, to communicate with a hearing impaired person, and that could be writing it down, or a language barrier. The access to interpreters is not at 3 o'clock in the morning, is readily available, so we will do our best, our officers will do the best to inform consent. That's why in the procedure it's so well detailed when they'll be used. So and after the fact, and I understand it's an after the fact, we could sit down with the translator and explain why the camera was used in the park at this particular event. So we will do our best, as the video indicated as well. And again, you got to understand these are really dynamic situations. When the officer pulls over a car, the first thing out of their mouth may not be, oh, by the way, stop throwing things at me, I'm recording you, but it'll come, and it's a requirement. And just so we're clear, I have created an amnesty period for my officers. In that this is new technology, and we're going to struggle, and we're going to make mistakes. Everybody here knows me that when my people do great work, it's them, and when they make a mistake, it's me. So we will own it, but we've also learned from it. So for the next few months, the officers are going to make mistakes. We're going to accept it, we're going to learn from it, we're going to grow from it. I should mention that if the officer were to draw a less lethal weapon or their firearm, the camera automatically comes on. So the officer doesn't have to have that fine motor skill at that critical situation. So I appreciate the informed consent question. It is the biggest thing around us right now. And we'll do our best. And that's where the consultation comes back to see where we have not done a good job, where we maybe need to tweak or improve our procedure. And the great thing about that is they're always reviewed.
Okay. Can I ask?
Absolutely.
Still on the idea of informed consent.
Yeah.
So in terms of, I'm just wondering, what do we know about the impact of the recording in terms of instances of, say, domestic violence in a private residence? and the informed consent piece for someone who is experiencing the victim of the violence.
So that goes back, Paul, do you want to speak to the private residence?
So, I'll give one example where we get called to 911 for a domestic in progress in the middle of the night, maybe a husband and wife scenario, maybe kids present. But officers by policy will be activating their camera each and every time they're attending something for investigative or enforcement purpose. When we talked a little bit today about sensitive issues, if we have an opportunity initially while we are filming to, for example, if we're passing a couple of small children on our way into the house to speak to one or more involved parties, we do have the ability to cover the lens of our camera. But even if we didn't do that, most of the footage we shoot, the officer shoots during the course of any given shift, basically is not going to see the light of day. And when I say that, matters that come to criminal court, we have to prepare a criminal brief for, and our footage from, say, a domestic would be part of that criminal brief. But the original version of our footage sits here with us, and we have a full-time person that does redaction of that footage. So identifiers such as the officer rolling up to the front of a house where domestic took place, that's all gonna get redacted before it ever makes its way to the Crown, which then that redacted version will make its way to the defense as part of normal disclosure processes, but it won't have anything that identifies the residents. It won't have anything that identifies any uninvolved people and minors. I guess that's the gist of our policy. Some of the things we can mitigate at the time. Other things, we can also have the ability to mute, and Dale mentioned this, maybe mute our own audio under certain narrow circumstances. But things that we do at the time, fine, they never make it to the original version of the body-worn camera video, but certainly before any of that video gets released, especially for a court purpose, we'll be able to redact out all those things. We showed you a couple examples of what a redaction looks like for video, where it's a total blackout. So, for example, anything anything external to the house or the neighborhood that would identify a safety concern for a victim of domestic violence, all that's getting redacted out. Any pictures on the wall, right, that inadvertently get captured while we're in somebody's residence, that would be an identifier. They're all getting blanked out. Any data screens that happen to be captured at a residence, whether it's a computer screen or a cell phone or something like that, those things are getting redacted out as well.
And the video is available, so the freedom of information does apply to all videos. So any person who feels that they have been captured on a body-worn camera can follow the standard application process from a FOI perspective to make application for that video.
And I think that's what I'm sorry, so the criminal piece you touched on, I'm thinking more along with the implications in a civil matter, and specifically like child custody, and where maybe, one partner could use footage, potentially request footage.
So
and
our
have it used
our
against.
staff are really well trained, and Christine is in the back, she's learning into that space. And those are our everyday occurrences where we get our freedom of information in that exact circumstance, Missy.
Yeah.
So our staff are really familiar. This is going to be new in the sense that you're going to get a jump drive, I believe we'll be providing under an FOI request. It's going to be a lot of black. And it's going to be a lot of blank time, but that is your information that you're by law entitled to. So that process is part of the procedure, it's part of the applicable legislation, and we knew the board was wise in talking to other services that we had better hire somebody in addition to poor Christine and Jackie. So we have a digital evidence manager in place specific for this task. I'm confident that we're in a great space to provide the transparent response to the community as they require it and deserve it.